Lewis Capes, 53 as of the publishing of this video, is a 6'4", 22-stone former shot putter and retired gridiron player with the London Monarchs. He played rugby for England Trent schoolboys and also competed at athletics and water polo. This is all very compelling evidence that he was a decent all-round sportsman in his own right. But what is most interesting about Lewis Capes is the fact that he could claim one thing indisputably that many boys tried and said in the schoolyard. That being the age-old declaration that my dad is stronger than your dad. If anyone dared come up to Lewis and suggest that their dad was stronger than his, he would have been able to laugh at them until his face turned deep red and the spots on his pubescent cheeks erupted like pus volcanoes. For their dads surely could not be as strong as Lewis's dad, for Lewis's dad was the world's strongest man, Geoff Capes. And Geoff Capes also had this over their dads. He had a computer game on the Electron, the BBC Micro, the Amstrad CPC, the Commodore 64 and the ZX Spectrum. The only chance that their dad would have the same is if their dad was Chubby Gristle, and Chubby Gristle didn't exist. You see, Geoff Capes got gold in the World's Strongest Man competition twice, in 1983 and 1985. He won the World's Strongman Challenge in Tokyo in 1987. He triumphed at the 1987 World Muscle Power Classic in East Kilbride and sat atop the big old unit who can shift stuff tree at Europe's premier competition, The Strongest Man, no less than on 3 separate occasions. Geoff Capes wasn't just stronger than your dad, he was stronger than all the dads in your class put together, like a big clump of flexing fatherhood. And just like his son, he was also an excellent shot putter, winning the gold medal at the 1974 and 1978 Commonwealth Games and the 1974 and 1976 European Indoor Championships. The Lincolnshire lad also became the most decorated competitor in the history of the Highland Games. And, well, he was quite the regular on a lot of entertainment shows like Blue Peter, Shooting Stars and Supergran in the 80s and 90s, thanks to his strongman fame. Recently, he's content to help Lewis coach the next wave of not only the strongmen of the future, but also the next generation of Capes children. Oh, and looking after budgies. He loves budgies so much that the only other video game that carries his name is the Bloodbaz programmed Geoff Capes Budgie Breeder that was entered into the CSS CGC Crap Games competition in 2010. You raise budgies, what more can I tell you? Anyway, released in the wake of hit multi-event sports games like Daley Thompson's Decathlon and Track and Field, Geoff Capes Strongman finds the titular man himself doing all manner of strength-related tasks. Released by Martech, yes, they of Sam Fox's Strip Poker, across 1985 and 1986, on the formats previously mentioned, Geoff Capes gives you the gamut of utterly pointless yet awe-inspiring feats that we've been watching on bank holidays since we were scraping our knees in schoolyards and moaning at our mums about them getting own-branded cola instead of Pepsi or Coke. 6 events are present for this wall of meat with eyes to strut his stuff and impress all the girls with his physicality. Before you start the vigorous activity of being cool in front of swooning ladyfolk and being the hero to an ocean of kid faces, you've got to put the legwork in, and neck work, and chest work, and arm work, and back work. All the works for all the muscles. This is the bit where you perform the traditional waggle, wrenching left and right like you've been taught self-pleasure by an idiot. Then you choose where to apportion the points in Geoff's body dependent on what muscle groups he will be using in the next feat of strength. You can bypass this and just be allocated a random amount of points by the computer, but that is a shortcut and I'm sure Geoff would not approve. Mind you, he probably wouldn't approve if I said his name phonetically. Would you, Geoff? Once you've turned your muscles into the thick Boxing Day turd cables you've always wanted, you then compete in a series of events which all have different control methods. Yes, you will still be wrist straining like a teenage boy's first week on Pornhub, especially with games like Barrel Loading and Fairground Bell being the best examples, but other games are based on timing, muscle management, or a mixture of these elements. When your muscle starts flashing, it's probably going to pack up, so you need to quickly click on it to get it right as rain. Perhaps it's Tiger Balm or ibuprofen gel being applied by Geoff's concerned mother. Leave it out, Mum, I'm trying to roll a Volvo here. The speed you have to get to these depends on the amount of effort you've committed to. Less effort means a slower time, but easier to manage fatigue. Get it right and you'll be pushing cars over like England have made a semi-final in the World Cup. And you'll be shifting those barrels onto the truck like you're being exploited by a pub landlord who's in a way to take advantage of special needs people that have increased strength. Go on, put all these barrels on the lorry and I'll give you 20p to go on fruity. Other games have you chopping wood, although the Spectrum game looks like you're in control of a dog's tooth as it tries to rend a wicker basket in twain. This is actually a game based on timing where you have to cleave it in the same place with your axe like a manly lumberjack, which, it should be said, gets a cheeky nod from Rob Hubbard with I'm a Lumberjack from Monty Python. I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. Actually, the musical choices throughout the game are pretty good, I have to say. Then there is the event where you have to pull the truck with your body. I've always found this event a bit strange. Why are you doing this? Just drive it. This is just going to take longer. And bringing it all to an end is sumo wrestling, where you have to push another meathead about like a pushy bum bad guy. Timing is once again required. Good timing will see you getting the upper hand, whereas bad timing will see you walk in on your wife as your supposed best man empties his balls into her mimsy. Oh, sorry, I'm going through some bad things. I mean, bad timing would push you closer to being exited out of the ring. I caught my best man in my wife's ring. Yes. The aim is to complete all 6 challenges. If he fails at any or is reduced to 0% in any of his muscle areas, well, that would be game over for poor old Geoff. Complete all of them and you'll get another go around, only it'll be harder this time to get the power you need to do your tasks, your feats of Hercules. As you might be able to tell, the lazy port rule does not apply here to these versions, as they all seem to be pretty different from each other, at least in terms of looks, although I'd say the Spectrum one is probably the best one out of them all, as it controls a little bit better than the other versions. The muscle management part of the game does offer a little bit in its variety compared to some of its contemporaries like Daley Thompson or Gary Lineker's Soccer Skills or Track and Field, but I don't think it necessarily works super well in all the levels. I think I'll restrict my strongman efforts in future to pushing out a solid one after a week without fibre. Get your strain on. Crash Magazine rather enjoyed it though in their issue 24, saying it was a pleasant change from perpetual joystick waggling athlete games. They gave it a 78%. Amstrad Action gave it a 68% in their issue 4, telling us it certainly has something a little bit different from the usual joystick bash, but 6 events may be a little bit limiting. Zap didn't like it at all. They gave it 33%. That's their view. They reckoned it was not worth the time of day even for joystick wibblers. So there you go. That's me done with the effing and indeed Geoffing. So what's next? Well, technically it's not a license, as this is pretty public domain. But what it is very strange. Yes, we're doing Punch and Judy. I'm sure we'll have a creepy time with those puppets. Until then, though, thanks for joining me on this adventure. Please subscribe and thanks. Bye.